I am Deacon Jose Campos, and one of the questions that is usually asked is, how has the church changed after the abuse scandals? Most Catholics and non-Catholics alike were horrified and angered by the sexual abuse scandal that broke across the church worldwide in this past decade. It still angers people to see the great darkness that this has caused. Their anger is justifiable, especially since the victims really trusted people and were hurt terribly by priests and other church workers whom they felt they could rely on. This has been a terrible scandal, and it still causes great emotion in many people. So, a good question is exactly that. How has the church changed from the abuse scandal? Well, first of all, let's get some facts down. The church is a divine institution. God made it. But it's made up of imperfect people, people who sin. In the sexual abuse scandal, what really upset people most was not the fact that these evil acts happened, bad as they were. People know that evil occurs. What upset people most was the ignorance and incompetence and the cover-up that occurred with that from leadership in the church that should have known better. This was a terrible failure in the church, and it is absolutely inexcusable. So where has the church gone from there? Well, let me tell you, since 2002, the church has made a massive effort to reform itself. One of the good things about the Catholic Church is that while it is capable of sin throughout its history, it has reformed itself and tried to make itself better with the help of God's grace. Since 2002, our bishops have worked to clean the house, as it were. They have instituted practices and programs to make sure that the evils of sexual abuse are brought up to light so that they may never occur again. What would those be? Well, first of all, to get rid of the perpetrators and make sure they are no longer priests. The second thing is to put in programs that protect our children. Hundreds of thousands of church employees and volunteers across this country have been trained in the past 8 years to recognize potential abuse and to develop programs and practices within their own institution and parishes to make sure that vulnerable people, especially children, are kept safe. That is a good and decent thing. Thirdly, we have a little humility. We have to know that we did wrong, and we have to be willing to apologize for that wrong. And I think that if you look at what Pope Benedict has said many times when he comes to visit us in the United States, and also when he speaks from Rome, he has apologized, and he sees this as a great evil, and he knows that the church will rise above it, and he knows that the church will improve itself. But that does not help the people who are already victims, whose lives have been shattered, and that's something that we have to continually pray about, and we have to continually hold them in our hearts. The church, just like us, can be guilty of sin, but we are also capable of repentance. Let us hope and pray that in the future, we stay in that forefront of making sure that this terrible thing never happens again, not just within the church, but anywhere. And make sure that God and His mercy and His love are shined forth upon our children, and make sure they are protected forever. That's the way the church recovers from the abuse problems. That's the way the church recoups its own identity, character, and integrity. That's the way the church shows that Jesus Christ is still alive within it today.